Jim Graham here for Beyond the Cage. Now joining me live, I have a special guest. He is fresh off his victory at UFC on Fox 21 over Kevin Casey. He is Smiling Sam Alvey. And Sam, thanks for coming back on Beyond the Cage.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Sorry, I love being on.
Now, of course, your fight here against Kevin Casey was just a few weeks after your win over Eric Spicely. And did you like the short camp? Do you like these short camps, or would you prefer a little longer camp?
No, I love these short camps. I'm always training anyways. As long as I fight, I get paid to train, and that's.
Now, of course, your fight here against Kevin Casey, known more as a grappler. Obviously, he tried his best to get you to the ground. He wasn't able to, and it came to the feet. You were definitely piecing him up, especially with your kicks. You threw a lot more kicks than you're usually throwing your fights. Was that a key for you to throw more kicks like that, or was that something that just kind of happened as the fight evolved?
You know, after my terrible fight against Elias Theodorou, who decided that the best strategy to beat me was to not fight and just win on points, I went back and I was just prepared for it now. Where it won't work twice, and he wasn't pressing forwards. Kevin Casey wasn't pressing forwards quite like we thought he was going to. And so the game plan was, if he dances on the outside, I'm gonna try and bait him in with more kicks. And lo and behold, they worked. Eventually, he came in a little further. I grabbed one of his kicks, and then he plowed forward, trying to get me down.
Now, of course, you were able to score another knockout victory. Like the kicks kind of helped you land some punches. He was definitely starting to get tired there as well. And was that kind of what you were hoping for there, another knockout victory?
Yeah. During my Eric Spicely fight, I submitted him, and didn't anticipate that. I'm always willing to take it if it's there, but I wasn't anticipating another submission against Kevin Casey. I saw the shot for the knockout, and that's what I went for.
Now, of course, after the fight, you were all fired up, much like your win there over Spicely. You were putting the European middleweights on notice. You would like a fight in Manchester in October, where, of course, your good friend and training partner, Dan Henderson, will be fighting Michael Bisping for the UFC Middleweight Championship. Any development so far on a potential opponent, or have you heard any word about you actually fighting there in Manchester in October?
You know, I have not heard anything yet. I would still love to. I was hoping that after this last weekend over in Germany, there were some fights that middleweight would peel off and maybe accept from there. But so far, I've heard nothing from Europe and nothing from the UFC. So I don't know if it's happening or not. But I'll be ready. I'll be ready for a last minute call.
Now, I did some research after your win when you called out the European middleweights, and I found, I think it was about 6 different European middleweights that should be ready in time for a fight in October. But one name that stood out on me doing this was, of course, a guy you've already fought and a guy you might be looking for some revenge against, and that being Elvis Vutashik. And I was thinking, would that be a fight you would like to run back this time in the UFC?
You know, it's funny. I never like rematches. I never have. Whether I win or I lose, we've only got so many fights that our bodies are going to let us do, and I never liked the idea of wasting it on the same guy over and over again. He and I had a hell of a fight a few years ago, and I'm sure if we were to fight again, it'd be a hell of a fight, but it's not really a fight that interests me. I've already done it, and I didn't win.
Now, some of the other names I came up with, I don't know if you are familiar with any of these guys. Magnus Sedenvlad, Bartosz Fanivski, Krzysztof Yako, and Bohan Vihalik, and Marian Vettori are some of the other European middleweights that I found out for you, Sam. So I don't know if you know any of those guys. Would any of those guys work for you?
Yeah, you know what? Any of them. Any two of them. Why not? Jatko, I've seen him fight a few times, and he's pretty talented. That'd be a fun fight. And Magnus, he's got about the coolest name in the UFC. So again, that would be a fun fight too.
Now, I know you were excited to go back in Canada, where, again, you fought a lot there with the MFC. This time, however, Vancouver's slightly more west for you, and I know you were excited to be there in Vancouver in the coast. So how was Vancouver?
Vancouver was beautiful. It wasn't cold. It didn't even rain, and they say they get a lot of rain up there. But I was there for a week, and there's hardly a cloud. There was a nice breeze. The ocean was right there. It was wonderful. I would love the opportunity to fight back in Vancouver again.
Now, of course, as fans know, I asked you this last time we had you on. Of course, are you still playing Pokemon Go?
I'm still playing Pokemon Go, not nearly as much as I was. It just sucks my data, so I don't play nearly as much as I used to.
Now, of course, when you went to Canada, with data and international rates, were you able to play at all when you were in Canada, or did you have to wait till you got back home in America?
Only when I was in the hotel. When I had Wi-Fi, then I got to play a little bit. I didn't catch anything super awesome or anything, though. But I did get to play a little bit in the hotel room.
Now, of course, before this fight, you had the birth of another child, so congratulations on that. And I believe you already were doing a baptism today, and you flew out to see the rest of your family there in Wisconsin, if that's correct?
Yep, right from Vancouver. The UFC flew us back to Wisconsin, and my youngest was born a little more than a month ago, and we had him baptized earlier today, and it's been a wonderful trip.
Now, of course, speaking of Wisconsin, as fans know, and I think we've talked about this several times over the years you've been on the program, of course, you and I are both fans of the Green Bay Packers. So with the season coming up, what are you looking forward to for the Packers here in 2016, Sam?
Shoot, they're going to go to the Super Bowl, and they're going to win the Super Bowl. It's just the way it is. I guarantee it.
When's the last time you've been to a Packers game?
It's been years. A few years ago, the Packers played the Chargers at the Chargers, and I was all set up to go. And then 2 weeks before the game, I got a call to fight in Mexico. So I ended up fighting in Mexico instead of seeing them. So it's been 6 or 7 years since I've been there live.
Now, I want to go back to the Manchester thing here for a second. First, have you been to England before? And two, if you're able to go, do you feel as though that fighting on the same card as Dan, which I don't believe you've done before, at least in the UFC, do you think that'll give you kind of an extra, motivation, with him going for the championship?
I've never been to London before, but yeah, whenever I get to fight on the card with my friends, I always do better. I used to, growing up, earlier in my career, I would corner 5 or 6 of my friends, and then I'd be the main event. And I did that all the time. I'd corner them, and then I'd go back, warm up myself, and then fight. And I just always loved it. I've always, gotten so buzzed off the anticipation of my friends fighting. It always worked. It always helped.
Now, of course, looking at Dan's matchup there against Michael Bisping, obviously he had that historic knockout victory over him back at UFC 100. Obviously, both fighters are different than the first time they met, but do you foresee any difference in the outcome other than Dan Henderson winning?
No, I think if Dan wins, when Dan wins, it'll be by knockout. Dan hits as hard as he ever has. And although I am a big fan of Bisping, I like the way Bisping fights. And actually, I've always wanted to fight Bisping myself, so I gotta work my way up to it. But it's just going to be a good fight. It's going to be one of those fights for the fans that the UFC makes happen so often.
Now, I know you see it every once in a while. They have those UFC video machines with the punching bag, and it kind of gauges how hard you hit it kind of based on the score. Have you ever done one of those, one? And two, you and Dan both hit extremely hard, and I was wondering, who do you think hits harder between the two of you?
You know what? I'm younger. He's my coach. I'm going to say Dan hits harder than I do, but not by much.
Have you ever done one of those video things and shown like your score? Or do you know like the pounds?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I have no idea what I do. I always hurt myself when I hit those. I always punch through and I hit the machine, or I tank my wrist the wrong way. So punching the machines is harder than punching a person, I guess.
Now, if for whatever reason you aren't able to get on the Manchester card, is there any other card in particular you would like to fight on, or just as soon as they can get you a fight?
As soon as they can get me a fight, I want to be on. I want to fight. If Manchester happens, I would love to fight over there. And I would love to fight in New York too. What a historic card that is. Yeah, and every other person in the UFC wants to fight on that card also, so it might not happen either. But I would love to. And as a matter of fact, the Holy War Angel, I have such a hard time saying his name, Owal Bugasi, I believe. I called him out 2 fights ago, and he's been writing me hard on Twitter trying to get this to happen. So here in the next day or two, if I haven't heard anything about Manchester, I'm going to go back to Joe and say, hey, the Holy War Angel's been calling me out consistently for the last 2 months. And what are the chances of me fighting him?
Speaking of Joe Silva, it looks like it's come out that he may be stepping down from his role as the main matchmaker for the UFC at the end of the year. Did that surprise you at all to hear that Joe is kind of stepping away from this position?
Yeah, I don't want to say it surprised me, but I didn't know. It's going to happen eventually. He's got such a high-stress job. People are constantly getting hurt. People are always fighting. He's got to manage 600 different people. I can imagine that the pressure of his job's got to be just overwhelming. So I knew he wouldn't do it forever. I'll be disappointed to see him go because I really think he's good at his job, better than anyone else on this planet. But it'll be interesting working with whoever replaces him.
As of right now, it assumes as though the guy handling the other matchmaking duties for the UFC is Sean Shelby. It would look as though he would just assume all the duties, at least temporarily, until they bring someone else in. But have you ever met Sean Shelby, and do you feel as though that would be a pretty easy transition if he does, in fact, get like the full role?
It would be easy for me. And Sean's a great guy. I've met him a dozen times as well. He's real good at his job as well. So I could see him taking over, but like I said, it's such a high-stress job. I don't think one man could do it by himself for all that long.
I want to get your thoughts on some of the other fights that happened there in Vancouver. It was just an excellent night of fights for kind of everyone that was there. But looking at some of the main card action, what did you think about Anthony Pettis there against Charles Oliveira, a fight where many thought maybe Oliveira could never be submitted, and Anthony Pettis was able to pull that off?
Pettis is an amazing fighter. He's a fellow Wisconsin boy too, and he's just filled with talent. Or for the guy who's supposed to have the most unique and powerful striking in all of MMA, he gets a submission against an unsubmittable guy. And that's just Anthony Pettis all over. He's always doing what you don't think should be able to be done.
And then in the main event, of course, Damian Maia, not the fact so much that he won, but the fact he was to do it so quickly, and he made it look so easy against one of the toughest guys in the welterweight division in Carlos Condit. Did that quick submission kind of shock you at all?
Yeah, a little bit. I knew if Maia was going to win, it was going to be early. I didn't think he was going to be in 3 moves. And, he single leg, back take, rear naked choke. And he just did it like he practices it every day of his life. And it was intimidatingly good. It was very cool to see.
He is Smilin' Sam Alvey. You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Smilin' Sam. And Sam, thanks again for coming on the show. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to you fighting either in Manchester or somewhere later this year.
Hey, thank you very much. Love being on the show, sir.
Once again, that was Smilin' Sam Alvey right here on Beyond the Cage.